And, one of the things that the absence in particular of John Morant, Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, what play type do those 3 have in common? Or maybe just they have together? It's the pick and roll. And
Absolutely.
that's something the Grizzlies feature a lot, and without 2 of your most prominent rollers, and then probably arguably one of the most heavily used players in the pick and roll, Taylor Jenkins and his team have had to adapt. And in that, you're mentioning the success of leaning on guys like Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Luke Kennard. Taylor Jenkins is coming up with more diverse sets to generate those looks. Sometimes it's just feeding the hand and just getting the ball to Jaren Jackson Jr. in the post. Jaren's been used as a screener, which also the thing with Jaren that's nice is he can be used as both a popper and a roller. And usually when he pops, he has a mismatch and he gets driving to his left. And you know how that's been going here lately. And then they've been running a lot more shooting actions for Desmond Bane and Luke Kennard. I've been loving the stuff they've been doing running Luke Kennard off screens. And when you mix and pair all that with how Tyus Jones can operate in the pick and roll as a facilitator or as a guard getting to his floater, I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence, Sean, that you're throwing out all these numbers about their effective field goal percentage, their true shooting percentage, and their half-court offense, and the fact, too, that they're spicing up their offense a little bit more. They're deviating away from going heavy pick and roll, and they're trying to go to the strengths of guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones, Luke Kennard to adapt to life without guys like Steven Adams, John Morant, who's back now, or Brandon Clark. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I see it.
Well, and then the high usage of John Morant being eliminated from the equation. What do you do with that? You don't have a guy who's going to be able to be as effective as John Morant at that high of a usage. That just speaks to how special John Morant is when he's on the court. So how do you overcome that? Well, it's you move the ball more. 13 to 15 more passes per game in the month of March compared to previously. What has that led to? It's led to 2 more assists per game, nearly 7 more points off assists. They're averaging 70 points off of assists per game in March, where it was 63 in February. And the biggest key of all, where they're getting the biggest boost of all, Parker, when it comes to their 3-point shooting, they are shooting 5% better in March than they were in February. 2.5 more catch and shoot threes in the month of March versus February. What does all that lead to? It leads to that consistency that we're talking about. And also, without John Morant being the guy to go into the paint and be able to produce, they're able to sit there and counter to allow for them to be able to do it. So that's the other big thing that comes from this. Now that we've gotten this consistency, this confidence in finding these counters and passing the basketball, if teams are going to collapse more often to stop John Morant in the paint, we're much more suited to be able to hit those counters and find the open three to make teams pay from distance.